You're listening to the Snob OS podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs. Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
And welcome back to the Snob OS show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. We want to welcome you back to another episode. This is episode 331 of the Snob OS show. And as per usual, we want to thank everybody for supporting. If you want to become a Patreon supporter where you get some extras, please go to patreon.com/snoboscast, become a Snobist member, and you will get all of that content, including a special show that you will not hear on this recording. So we do that after the show. So if you want to be a member of a Snobist community, you got to get in on that first. All right, moving right into the show. We always start with the lowdown. In the lowdown, we're going to talk about iPhone 17 sales. We're going to talk about OS 26. For the second string, we're going to talk about Facebook sending out some class action cash for the culture. I thought this was interesting. Killer Cam shuts down some uncomfortable oogling of his co-hosts. And I'm going to show you how to turn on probably one of my favorite OS 16 features. So that's where we're going to get into it. Like I mentioned at the top, we always start with the lowdown where we talk all things Apple. And the first thing I wanted to get into is iPhone 17 sales. Now, while we don't have any hard numbers, I don't think Apple is ever going to give us those numbers, especially if they're just lukewarm. But
right.
According to Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, he shares his thoughts on the demand for Apple's new iPhone lineup. According to Kuo, the pre-order demand for iPhone 17 series during the first weekend of pre-orders was, quote, better than the iPhone 16 last year. The most expensive model, the 17 Pro Max, is reportedly in the highest demand, which is surprising because those colors, you're either for or against those colors. And I'm just talking, not just talking about the orange one. I'm talking about the blue one because there's no black one.
Right.
There's blue, there's this white/silver version, and then there's that orange color that you either love it or hate it. But most expensive iPhone 17 Pro Max is reportedly in the highest demand, but the other iPhone 17 variants appear to be doing well as well. So I just wanted to swing it to you. Is this a sign of things to come? Have people tired of iPhone pre-orders? Or, I mean, Apple put out a good product and people are buying it. What do you think?
I'm surprised as well that the Pro Max is, the top contender. Usually it's either the Pro or the standard iPhone. So I'm surprised that it's the Pro Max. And I'm trying to rack, back in my brain to see if there is anything that was obviously like outstanding that said, yes, this is what you should buy. And the only thing I can really attribute it to is, I guess, trends in the market. I wasn't expecting it to trend in this direction. I really did think, that there might be an influx on the Air just because people are interested. But at the same time, I was like, well, a lot of people may want to not pre-order the Air so they can go in the store and get their hands on it because, again, it is the first generation and people can be a little bit weary of first generation devices, except for, Apple early adopters or Apple snobs that are on the most far-reaching end. That's whatever it is, Apple, they're going to buy it regardless. So,
But as for the iPhone Air, though, to your point about maybe people waiting until they can see it for themselves, according to Ming-Chi Kuo, Apple's new iPhone Air doesn't seem to be doing too well as it compares to the iPhone 16 Plus last year. This year's iPhone Air, which many people are saying has replaced the 16 Plus, the sales appear to be lower than that of the iPhone 16 Plus at the same period last year. So I'm going to chalk that up to people not being sold on the looks alone,
Right.
and people may be having some concerns as it relates to the battery life and the lack of cameras. So I think people like the idea of the iPhone 17 regular because it's got the two separate cameras.
Right.
Even though the Air has the dual lens camera that gives you two cameras in one,
Mhm.
numbers speaking, two
Yeah.
is better than one, three is better than two.
Yeah.
So the iPhone Pro Max with the three lenses, that screams this is something professional. The iPhone 17 regular, people like it as this is the entry level model. And the iPhone Air, people don't know necessarily what to do with it because even though it fits squarely in between the two lines,
Mhm.
it's compromising on some things that
Yeah.
both the Pro Max or the Pros and the 17 regulars have. So I don't
And
know if people go
I
ahead.
wouldn't attribute too much to the early numbers, especially on the iPhone Air, because like I said, it's new. People aren't quite sure what to make of it. And maybe once I see it in person, those numbers will uptick. I think they will. But I also think for the Pro line, like I said, when on the initial impressions and initial reactions, the phone looked beefier and sturdier to me. And maybe people are really responding to that and thinking along the lines of, this phone may last me, you know, more than a typical iPhone does. Because to me, one of the reasons why I wasn't so keen on getting it outside of the color issue, it and maybe in person it looks a little bit different, but through the graphics and the video, it seems a bit sturdy is the word. So it's like
Mhm.
it seems to me a bit too hefty, if that makes sense. It just looks to me, it puts me in the mind of the iPhone series 11 compared to the Ultra. So it kind of gives that different kind of feel to me at least.
Okay. All right. Well, these are just pre-order numbers, and these are pre-order numbers from a analyst, not hard numbers from Apple or from any other sort of sales aggregator. So we will
Mhm.
just have to see.
Yep.
Speaking of which, the next story is, of course, the notable thing that happened this week is OS 26 released, and that goes for iOS, that goes for iPad OS, that goes for Watch OS, goes for Mac OS Tahoe, and I think there's even a CarPlay and TV OS up 26 updates as well. So we've all seen the features.
Mhm.
I was able to hold out. No betas, no
Uh,
dev betas, no public betas. I waited until the actual day, which was this past Monday, to download it. I just wanted to talk to you and find out if you were able to download it and if you had some early impressions.
so I'm not gonna hold you too much on this. I forgot.
Ah,
That it was until today.
uh-huh.
And so then I was like, we're probably gonna talk about this on the show. Let me get it updated. So I got my Mac updated, I
Mhm.
got my iPad updated, and I got my iPhone updated just before the show. So we can definitely talk about it, but too much detail.
All right, so let's let me save you a little bit. Is there like a overarching feature or look or something that brings your attention most out of all of the new stuff that came out with OS 26?
I think we're gonna talk about it next. The liquid glass
Okay.
aspect of it. So maybe I'll pull back a little bit on that. But I what I will say is during the well shoot, I still count liquid glass. But I'll just have to say normally when you update the OS, um, the way that you have your phone set up, meaning the way the icons are laid out, your wallpaper, all that type of stuff.
Mhm.
When I updated my my iPad,
Mhm.
uh I had because I currently have the background is a photo that I took um on a vacation to Tahiti. Love the photo. And I use my icons are set to tinted. So, you kind of
Mhm.
do I personally did
Mhm.
the dropper feature
Mhm.
and selected the color that I wanted.
Mhm.
So I had like the ideal color.
Mhm.
So when my iPad came back up, I don't know, it was this like neon almost radioactive blue. And I'm like, what the world? And I'm like, oh my God, I can't look at this. And so I was like, let me change it really quickly.
Mhm.
And so I changed it, but I haven't been able to find the color that I
Yeah.
had before, which is lame. But I would just say the way that I guess liquid glass is set up, it 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 looks different, and we'll talk about it more. But the other thing I'll say is um the preview app. So once
Mhm.
my OS got on my MacBook, once that got uploaded and I'm looking at the screen, of course they talked about changing some of the icons, and I'm looking at them, I'm like, I'm not sure what this is. So I was like, I'm clicking on some of the icons, at the bottom to see what some of these things are because I was like, I'm not 100% sure what this is. So let me take a look. So the overarching thing I think for me is getting used to it because I have to say of all of the different iOS or iPadOS or macOS updates, I think this one is probably the first one in a really long time that visually looks a bit different, and it's taken a minute for the brain to kind of switch over and understand the new things. But so far nothing really stands out. I like the fact that we now have the preview app on iPhone. That's pretty cool. At the viewer, for people who don't know, preview is the PDF viewer that's native to Mac, as opposed to typically on Windows, it's Adobe PDF reader. So I guess it's kind of cool to now have that on iPhone. But outside of that, I don't know, man. I'm hoping to listen to some of your favorites. Say, "Ooh, I'll try that too," and see how that works. See
Yeah,
how that looks.
right. So my favorite features, probably just playing around with the lock screen.
Mhm,
Finding a good picture for the lock screen, because the lock screen has that depth, or that, I don't want to say depth, but it's almost like a 3D look, to where if you have a good picture
mhm.
that works well with the feature, you can add the, I forget what it's called. Let me look and see
Oh,
what feature it is.
I think I've heard about this. I saw it somewhere where I think someone used a picture of a dog and the
Mhm.
dog face looks like it's coming out
Mhm.
of the camera. So I was like, "Oh, that's interesting."
It's called spatial scene. That's what it's called.
Okay.
A spatial scene. Um, so that feature alone adds some more customization options to the
Mhm,
lock screen, and the wallpaper. Of course, with the
mhm,
wallpaper, like you mentioned, it has the same thing, to where you can tint the icons
mhm,
to a certain color based on the where you select on the screen. You already
mhm,
mentioned that, but one of the things that they add to that is with the liquid glass. Yes,
mhm,
the liquid glass, you can tint the glass on the icons, on the letters, or whatever the case may be, that adds another layer of customization. So I think overall for me, the with the new look of liquid glass, I think the thing that stuck out to me, or kept my attention, was going through and customizing stuff, right?
mhm,
So I'm going in and trying to customize, like the phone app has a new look, to where if you've got favorites, or you've got pinned contacts at the top, it'll kind of show you their contact card. And I'm OCD. I don't want to say I'm OCD. I'm anal retentive.
okay.
And when I open up the phone app, and at the top of my the calls section at the bottom, it
Mhm,
shows you um probably can't see it because my computer is acting up. For those who are listening, just pretend that you see I'm holding my phone up, and at the top it's got the contact cards and my
mhm,
favorites. So I've got my wife and my kids up there.
mhm,
And when I first opened the app and went to that section of the app, the pictures looked all they wasn't the same. So I spent a better part of an hour trying
Mhm.
to go through and find the perfect picture for
To
each
fill that space, right?
for each of my family members at the
Yeah.
top of the phone. So I think all that to say, I think people when they download OS 26, probably the first thing they're going to do is customize,
Yep.
recustomize, and personalize their experience based on how liquid glass looks and how
Mhm.
they used to do stuff. So I went
Yeah.
in and updated contact cards. I have moved some stuff around just to make it look good because I want to take advantage of this new look that Apple's pushing, right? So that's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, uniformity. I like how the iPhone and the iPad and the Mac, the user interface looks familiar. It doesn't look the same,
Right.
but it feels familiar when you're
It's in
clicking
the
on.
same family.
Right,
They're
right,
not twins, but they're not identical twins, they're fraternal twins.
right,
So
right.
it looks the same kinda, but you can tell there's a difference.
Right. And even looking going through the watch, that I uploaded watch OS 26 as well. It just looks familiar and my eyes when I switch from device, not to say it was jarring in the beginning, but
Right.
it's like, oh, this seems like the same type of interface or the same moves, like how Apple hides some of the menus at certain points and then reveals the menus based on what you're clicking. I like that because again, I like how I'm a minimalist and I
Mhm.
like things to look simple. I don't like my screens and menus
To be all cluttered.
to be all cluttered. So,
Yeah.
especially in the Photos app, Apple does a good job of splitting out the Photos app between library and collections. If you click on the library, it just shows you all of your pictures and it gives you a little search button at the bottom. You switch to collections, it'll show you your memories, your people, your places, any other albums or shared albums, but it looks real simple and
Mhm.
clean. I think
Clean.
is the ultimate thing I was trying to say with iOS 26 particularly is how clean everything looks.
Yeah.
Even like on the home screen, I think this was evident in iOS 18, but like on my home screen, I took all the words off the front of the screen. So there's a feature on the screen to where you can make the icons a little bit bigger, but you
Mhm.
sacrifice the description, I guess. So under
Mhm.
every app, it'll have the name of the app, but I
Mhm.
only have this one screen. And if I swipe past that, it'll take me to some widgets and then swipe past that, it takes me to the app library. So I don't have a whole
Yeah.
bunch of apps everywhere. So I
Yeah.
just remove the words and that just makes it look cleaner. So
Cleaner.
yeah, overall, I like the fact that again, everything is uniform. And I like the fact that it looks cleaner with the menus and everything. And I like the ability that it makes me want to customize my experience on
Yeah.
my devices.
And I think that's something new for Apple because they've always had things where it's pretty much standard across the board. About really the only thing you could customize
Mhm,
was like your background and your wallpaper and your lock screen photo.
mhm,
And I think this is now giving people a little bit more control. And I have to say, as soon as I update devices, that's the first thing I start to do. Start to change the colors. My layout's pretty good, but just changing visually the way it looks. And I have
mhm,
to say, we're talking about how, between the different OSs, that they aren't twins, they aren't identical twins, they're fraternal. I was clicking around on iPad and the iPhone, the phone app is now on iPad.
mhm,
And it looks, when you show kind of like your screen and how you had the favorites at the top in the photos, and I was like, that's basically what it looks like
mhm,
on iPad as well.
mhm.
So yeah, I won't say looking forward, but I have to have things in their proper place and in order. So, making sure everything looks across the board. I like to have the same photos on, wallpaper and all that kind of stuff across
Mhm.
on all my devices. So making sure that everything is nice, neat, and copacetic along the line. So
Yep, yep, and, again, like you mentioned, the same thing with the Mac app, there's a phone app as well for the Mac app, and it looks the same way. So
Mhm.
it's got the same layout, the same pictures that I picked. There's no differentiating between how they look. So what I'm looking at now is that what I didn't do is looking at the Contacts app. Much better, much better. I mean, that daggone Mac Contacts app was a
Man,
mess. It looks much better. It ain't perfect.
it looked outdated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they stepped that up. So I can definitely appreciate that. One of the other things that I can appreciate, like I mentioned, is call screening. And what I mean by that is in iOS 16, there's ability to turn on call screening to where the phone, if somebody's calling you, your phone will actually pick up the phone for you and say, state your business, for lack of a better term. And the person on the phone or who's calling you has to say, "Oh, this is so and so from so and so." And while they're
Mhm.
saying that,
You
me on
can
the other end, I'm getting a text. I'm looking at my phone, and Apple is text to speech what they are saying,
transcribe it.
transcribing. I said text to speech. It's transcribing it live while it's doing it, and that gives me the option to pick up the phone
Or not.
or not, and it turns into they'll push them the voicemail. So
Right.
I just thought that was dope because again, we all hate spam and feel
Spam risk.
right, and the marketers and whomever are trying to get savvy to get around it, but Apple with this feature put them right back in their place.
Say, not so
Mhm.
fast.
Yep, yep. So yeah, so that's it for the favorite features. Again, another thing, a sub conversation I wanted to get into
Mhm.
is liquid glass. There's a lot of been division about, whether they like it or whether they love it, and you kind of tipped your hat. So what's your over under on liquid glass? Is it something that you will enjoy, or is it something that you really won't care about after you get everything set up, or is it as bad as people claim it is?
So, it's an interesting feature. It's to me, it was a bit jarring initially seeing it and trying to get my eyes to kinda adjust to what I was seeing. I'm
Mhm.
gonna give it a go before, I decide if I'm gonna turn it on or off. On the Mac, I don't know if it's some setting, but, on the main screen, the widgets on the side, they're in that glass feature. But if you click on the border of your screen, you know how it removes the things that are on your desktop.
Mhm.
The icons flip back to non-liquid glass, which is really weird. So that's why I was like, I don't know if that's a setting, if that's a bug, or if that's a feature, because the way that it kind of toggled between the traditional look with the way the app actually looks, the way the widgets actually look, and contrast to it being in the liquid glass mode. Um, I I don't know. It's one of those things where it's because it is new, I don't wanna outright shut it down. I'm gonna give it a shot. Imma give it a chance to see if it grows on me and if it's something that I wanna keep. But it's different and, change is inevitable. So I'm gonna give it a try and see how much I like it. I can tell from now, I will likely turn it off on my MacBook. I I'll probably keep it on my iPad because it's not as again, my screen is pretty simple on my iPad. I
Mhm.
only have a handful of apps on the
Mhm.
screen and they're kind of strategically placed so they're not like
Like the widgets?
overwhelming. Yeah, no, just the
Oh,
apps
just the apps.
themselves.
Okay, okay.
And then because most of the apps are in the app library. So yeah, I'm not sure on the iPhone how I'm gonna feel about it, but I have stronger-ish feelings, I think, for the Mac and for the iPad, not so sure on the iPhone. I personally, at first glance, don't think that it is, you know, kind of what people are making it out to be before we got it, or
Mhm.
people who did the beta, those types of things. It I think it's gonna eventually be one of those things where it's like, "Oh, okay, that was a thing,"
Mhm.
and, you're kinda into it or not. I can say that one of the reasons why I think I'm probably going to turn it off on my Mac is just the way that the layering is. So say you have something on the side that you're kind of scrolling through, like on the system settings. One of the things that's
Mhm,
in my pre-checklist before we do the show is to check the mic input. And when you're kind of scrolling to get to whatever section of the um, system settings are, it's just
mhm.
kind of like the search bar where you type in stuff instead of just scrolling. The way it's layered is kind of weird to me, and it's overlapping, but you could still kind of see the text that's on top of it. So it's kind of weird. So it's one of those things where I don't know if I'm gonna want to see that on a larger scale, because I have the larger screen MacBook Pro. So I don't know if I'm gonna want to continue to see that. So we'll see what it looks like on iPhone, but definitely on the MacBook, I don't think it's gonna be one of my favorite features.
Alright. Yeah, I like it everywhere.
Oh,
This
really?
liquid glass, yeah. I think it shows up when it's supposed to, and it kind of hides itself when it doesn't need to be, like, if you're watching something in full screen, kinda tucks behind stuff, but at the same
Hmm.
time, um, it's it's there, but it's non-intrusive, I guess is the
Hmm.
lack of a better term. When you look at the different the menus and the
Hmm.
different options that you have depending on whatever app that you're in. We're talking native apps. Again, I haven't done too much. I don't know how many third-party apps have updated to adopt the liquid glass, but
Hmm.
just the native apps that I've been playing around, I mean, it looks good to me. So, Imma keep playing with it, see if I can discover new things, see if there's anything out there that I don't like, but
Hmm.
not really. I mean, the only thing I can think about on the Mac is the widgets that I have. They
Hmm.
dance between being full um, non-translucent to being that liquid glass translucent look.
Hmm.
I wish there was like a rhyme or reason, or if it could transition to smoother, because it's kind of jarring that it'll be liquid glass and then boom, it'll pop up to where the regular colors and the regular look.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That was
Yeah.
like really weird to me. And I was like, maybe it's some setting that I have to change. But I was like, just clicking, around the screen, the way
Mhm.
it just kind of
Oh,
flips.
okay.
And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like, I don't
And
I don't know what that means.
that's not a it's not a deal breaker. That's the only thing that sticks out to me, I guess
Yeah.
is what I mean. But other than that, I don't have any problems with it at all, and I think it was a good move for Apple. Again, I didn't have none of the betas, so I can't speak to how it looks now in the finished version versus how it looked
Looked
when everybody
initially.
was complaining
Yeah.
during the beta versions, but,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe Apple got his act together, maybe it listened to the feedback and
Yeah.
implemented some of that stuff, so alright, so, the last couple things I've got is the Apple Intelligence highlights because I think not everybody's argument, but I think people noticed Apple was kind of mum's the word on Apple Intelligence when it came to
Mhm.
the Apple event last week. So I just thought I would kind of bring this up to kind of highlight some of the features that we're using or that iOS 26 uses that have Apple's current version of Apple Intelligence. Of course, like we've all mentioned, the live translation to whether you're doing the AirPods translation or you're actually doing a text translation
Mhm.
between a user. Like if you're talking to somebody in another country and they're sending you text messages, they don't necessarily have to speak in your language. It's live translation right on the screen. So
Mhm.
they'll type in their language. It'll be their language. And then under that, there's like a little caption in English. And then if I type, it'll do it in reverse. That's the same thing across the translation app. That's the same thing across, like I mentioned, the text messages app or text messages, the messages app, and the
Mhm.
phone calls. Like if you're doing a phone call with somebody, it'll do live translation while they're speaking as well. So that is an Apple Intelligence feature that I don't think nobody knew that or was familiar with.
Right.
Another thing is search. Like if you do a screenshot, Apple Intelligence is more prominent and asks you the options that you want. Do you just want to search for an image on, you want to search for something in the picture? Do you want translation of the text that you took a screenshot of? You get more options versus just taking a screenshot and then saving it to your phone and then have to go to the app, to go to the Photos app, find the picture, and then do some things. I think Apple's doing a better job with the visual intelligence part of that. And if you've got ChatGPT turned on, after you take a screenshot, as you already know, you can say, hey, ask ChatGPT, blah, blah, blah. Right.
It seems like this is a enhanced version of Google Lens because I used to
Hmm.
use Google Lens a lot when, I'm out and I see if I'm at a restaurant and they have like a light fixture. I was like, oh, that's cute. I would like that. Snap
Yeah.
it in Google Lens. So it looks like the visual intelligence has gotten a bump, um, and it can do more things native within the actual search
Hmm.
than having to go outside and, do different ways, do different things. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, Genmoji and Image Playground are stepped up with Apple Intelligence, but I hardly
I
use
don't
that.
use that.
Right, and I don't assume anybody else hardly use that. That
Maybe
they
kids do,
mentioned.
or the tweens or the teenagers.
Right, right, right. Something else that I forgot that had intelligence is this workout buddy. And basically, what it is, if you are working out, the Apple Intelligence analyzes user workout data to deliver personalized spoken motivation throughout their session. So I haven't tried it yet,
Oh,
but when I do try it, I do definitely want to see how accurate this workout buddy is as compared to me just keeping my own pace. Is
so
she
it's like
gonna?
your own, like, personal trainer in your ear.
But we'll see how irritating she is. It's like I don't want
Can
her to
you
be in
change
my.
your voice like you could do with, Homegirl?
I don't know, maybe, but my whole thing is I don't want it to be chirping at me every 30 yards or
"You can
every
do it.
200 feet.
Keep going."
All right, I got it. I got it. I know I can do
I
it.
know.
Right. But is it doing it at certain times? I want to see
Right.
how intelligent it is to notice. Like, for example, will this workout buddy notice if
If
I'm
you slow
falling
down.
behind my pace?
Mhm.
And then when she notices, will she say, "Hey, last lap, you ran this 5 seconds faster. Keep up the whatever."
Mhm.
I want to see if
Yeah.
she does that, or is it like a predetermined every mile or every half
Yeah.
mile? She's just gonna say something because
Right.
this is the time that I'm supposed to say something, right?
Right.
So definitely want to check that out. One thing that I haven't played with in a long time is shortcuts. I want to see um, how much intelligent the shortcuts are that I'm actually programming, because there are some things that I've programmed. Again, I don't have much things that are so repetitive that I feel I need to build out some sort of automation, but there are some
Yeah.
home things that I want to play around with, but I want to see how good or better those shortcuts are. Don't sleep on them. Again, I still kind of play around. I dabble, but
Mhm.
anybody who really wants to get into, all right, let me really personalize my experience on my phone, definitely check out shortcuts.
I'm wondering if shortcuts, like you said, I haven't taken a look at them in a while either,
Hmm.
but with the rise of like Claude Code,
Hmm.
Goose, other like MCP um servers, uh, or Copilot, those type of things. If it's
Hmm.
kind of gotten that feel where once you start typing something, it kind of predetermines, the next thing. If it's intelligent enough to pick up what you're trying to do as you're typing
Hmm.
in the text for, what you want to automate. So
Right.
that'll be interesting to see.
Yep, yep. And that's the gist of it. There's a couple little tiny things like in reminders and Apple Wallet and messages, but that's about it. Again, I just wanted to highlight some of those things because people are saying, "Oh, Apple was mum's the word on Apple Intelligence." Yes,
Mhm.
they are. I agree in the sense that the Chat GPT version of intelligence is missing from from Apple's version of intelligence.
Mhm.
But there's some cool stuff in there that people need to check out. So just thought I'd highlight that. All right. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up is battery drain. There are some people with OS, specifically iOS 26, that are
Mhm.
complaining that the OS is draining battery faster than normal. Of
Mhm.
course, Apple says that's normal. Yeah.
Not what people want to hear.
Right. So I'm going to get the actual quote. Quote, this is normal as your device needs time to complete the setup process in the background, including indexing data and files for search, downloading new assets, and quote unquote updating apps. Immediately after completing an update, particularly a major release, you might notice a temporary impact on battery life and thermal performance. So I guess it's a question of, is iOS 26 really draining battery, or are we just being impatient
Yeah.
and not waiting for Apple to do all the things it needs to do to ensure that you have the complete
Yeah.
iOS 26?
So it sounds like we need to give it a few days after you
Hmm.
do the update to see if you continue to see the battery depletion, and
Yep.
that will tell the tale.
Yep. So yeah, just want to put that out there. Nothing, nothing more to add to that. If you are experiencing unusual battery drain shortly after or during iOS 26 updates, be patient. All right. So I think that's going to do it for the lowdown. We're going to move into second string. And like I mentioned at the top, Facebook is shelling out class action settlement checks right now.
Hope I
Did you
get a
get
check.
one? Did you get one?
I ain't got no check yet.
I got one. I got some money straight to my debit account. And I
So see, that's the thing for me. Whenever we do these clash action lawsuits,
mhm,
I don't give them my bank account information
mhm.
because you already giving me money because you
Didn't
messed up something.
right.
So I was like,
Yeah.
just mail me a check real quick. I'm
Yeah.
not in that big of a rush. Just mail me a check and I'm fine.
Yeah, I've got a throwaway. I've got a throwaway account that for stuff
Mm.
like this that's connected to things like PayPal and
Oh,
Venmo
nice.
and not Cash App. I think Cash App's tied to my because I use that the most. But anything else that like I may or may not use, or when we
Mm.
get check settlements like this, I always give them that
That's
throwaway.
smart. Maybe I'll do
Yeah.
that.
Yep. So let me give you the background. Meta settled the case in 2022 and agreed to a 725 million fund. Facebook users had to submit a claim by August 2023. Nearly 18 million people requested a cut. The money is now being distributed. So check your email for a notification from Facebook Consumer Privacy Settlement. I the story goes on to say I received a $38 payment, which I think that's around the same amount that I got, but you had to have went through the process and claiming your funds. So
Right.
if you didn't do it, yeah, you missed out again.
No 40 bucks for you.
Yeah, yeah, 30 some dollar. I'm gonna look at my account now and see how much it was. Not free money. Look, I ain't turning down no
Right.
free money, so I put it like that. But I did notice that in my account, and I was like, "Oh, that's something interesting." And ain't nothing like some unexpected free money either.
Surprise money.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because I was already trying to decide if I was going to pull the trigger on one of these phones, and I
Mm.
think that was Apple or the Lord saying, "Yeah, go ahead and here's
You
some
can do it.
here's some
It's
money.
here's something on it.
Yeah,
Here's
yeah, yeah,
$40
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
it.
Here's something on it." Yeah. So I think, like I said, I got. Let me look at my account now. $37.95.
Okay.
So got me a little, leave me a little lunch on Friday because that's how expensive it is nowadays.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so that is it on that. We're gonna move into for the culture, and like I also mentioned, for those who don't know, Cameron is a rapper that we
Killer
grew up on
Cam.
at the time. Very misogynistic rhymes, very chauvinistic. Maybe even did I say misogynistic? Did I say that already?
Uh-uh, uh-uh.
Yeah,
You said
maybe
chauvinistic, I think.
chauvinistic, misogynistic rhymes, that we overlooked. I'll be first to admit when he was rhyming, I overlooked all the stuff. Now that I'm older, I look back, it's like, hey, wait a minute. But
That's
anyway,
not great.
fast forward to today, and Cameron and Mace, they were friends in high school. They started a podcast like all of the the
Old
elder
heads are doing.
statesmen. Yeah, you call them old heads. I was gonna call them elder statesmen. The old heads are doing put together a podcast, and in addition to Cameron and Mace, they have two other women
Mhm,
co-hosts. The main one that tends to show up a lot, they nicknamed her Stat Baby, right? So she
mhm,
comes in and she's kind of like the straight man for Mace and Cam on the outside talking crazy, right? She kind
mm.
of, is the
Reins them
research.
in.
Yeah, she reins them in, and she's also the researcher because they ain't researching nothing.
They just
So
talking.
yeah, they just talking. So they need somebody, a straight man that can give them the facts, make sure they
Be like,
fact checking,
"Actually."
make sure they do the research on anybody they're talking about, whatever. So that's
Yeah.
kind of like the makeup of their show. Cam and Mace kind of go crazy, and they've got this one or two. I can't think of the other lady. I don't watch the podcast. So I don't know what her
Mhm.
other role is, but there's two other co-hosts. The one that I wanted to highlight was they nicknamed her Stat Baby. I'm gonna look up her, make
Her
sure I
real
get
name
her.
is Treasure
Yes,
Wilson.
yes.
The other one is Arabia Tillery.
All right. So yes. So basically, what happened is on a recent podcast episode, they brought in their guest Adrian Bronner, who is
Mhm,
a boxing athlete.
mhm.
Again, I don't watch a lot of boxing, so whether he's good or not, I
He
don't
was
know.
pretty popular for a
Okay.
minute, I believe, but then he did, like many of them do, got into some stuff and,
Okay. All right. So yeah, so they brought him on, and I don't know if the dude was just that much smitten, or was he a little intoxicated or high, because
probably both.
he would not stop oogling her and just being distractive and maybe even a little bit uncomfortable, because it's like
Oh,
Cam and Mace couldn't even get words out edgewise before the dude would kind of distract them, or
he was trying to shoot a shot.
I mean, but it was uncomfortable. It's like once or twice you say your little compliments. Oh, you're beautiful. Oh man, I didn't know you was this beautiful in real life. And then you keep it
Mhm.
pushing,
Right.
right? No, he could not. I mean,
Oh my
Cam would
god.
try to get a couple words in, and he'd be like, "Girl, you fine. Girl, I can't believe
Oh.
you are just." Let me find some of these quotes. He says, "You look so good in person." He says, Cam, and they try to change the subject, and the dude will come right back. He would say, "I love you," and then the other girl will come on. What would you say the other lady's name was?
Arabia.
Yeah, he's like, "If that's Arabia, I'm Saudi," and trying to make a little joke,
Like, "Sir."
and it just kept on and kept on and kept on, so much so that like the misogynist in a
Mhm.
past life, Cam was like, "Yo, man, you bugging."
Gotta chill, my guy.
Yeah, he says, and I quote, "On some G shit, her boyfriend is here. We're gonna have to
Uh,
ask you to leave." He said, I'm gonna pay you for your time. I
Lord have your
appreciate you.
mouth.
I love you. I asked you the first time. I don't have no problems with you. I'm gonna pay you for your time. But if you can't but you violating, and I told you that. I
Mhm,
told y'all, it's like he
mhm,
kept going, and he's like, see, that's why we can't just let anybody come on our show, yada yada yada. So um he was, full 180. He went from, the girls, to like, no, I'm gonna step in, I'm gonna step up, and I'm gonna, look after my sister. Now, again, I don't know if
uh,
that's because, she's on the show and she's a part of the team. I'd be curious to know if they was just in a room and overheard somebody being uncomfortable. Would they step in? I don't
mhm,
know who's to say, but I will give him a little bit of grace, because
mhm.
he did step in, because it was getting mad uncomfortable. Again, I don't know.
Yikes.
I mean, it was like cringe the way he kept
Oh.
oogling this lady, and I saw the clip. She would kind of play it off and laugh, and kind of swoop her hair to the back or
Mhm,
whatever. But, it kept going and kept going and
mhm.
kept going, and if Cam had to say something, then something was wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I just thought that was cool that they stood up for their co-host, because there has been some podcast episodes in the past with prominent hosts that when their guests come on, they say wild stuff
And
and
they
don't
just let
nobody
it
check
fly.
them, and they just let
Yeah.
them fly, or they do the uncontrollable laugh or whatever the case may be. But
Mhm,
Cam, again, he wasn't about it, and like I said, he quickly stepped up to a boxer, no less, right?
Yeah.
you know, so again, I don't know if that adds to his, manliness or whatever the case may be, but he did check this dude for incessantly flirting with the
Yeah.
two other women. It's like they're here to do a job, right?
Yeah.
And the ladies are beautiful, don't get me wrong, but
Mhm.
I do notice that Cam and Mace, again, I don't watch a show like that,
Mhm.
but they've never really played with their co-hosts like that.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? They ain't like a little flirty, they ain't say nothing sideways, they haven't never made any references to their body parts or,
Mhm.
the things that you would expect
Right.
Cam and Mace, right? They
Yeah.
keep it very professional, and I'm just giving them some props for that. That's all.
And I have to say, definitely, props to them for stepping in and protecting her. And what I'll say on a couple things is I was watching Van Lathan's I saw a clip and they were talking to Erica Alexander from Living
Mhm,
Single and
mhm,
how they were talking about, when Ari Lennox was talking about Martin and how, it made, talking about him and Pam's conversations and
mhm, some
how it was
colorism.
kind of, yeah, the colorism, that type of thing. And people really jumped on her. And Max said the same thing. She was like, it was a different time. We
Called her
didn't
Max.
always have the language to that we have now. And so, definitely giving him grace on that hopefully from when he first started out to now, that he
Mhm,
has had growth and he has been able to see some of the things that he said was problematic.
mhm.
Back then, was it problematic? Yeah. We
Yes,
just didn't really know it like that. I'm
right.
sure and
Or we chose
some
to
people
ignore it,
some people
you
yeah,
know?
and some people did, and some people spoke out, but the mass populace wasn't because it's just something that was said. It's just something that we heard, and
Mhm,
people, whether they took offense to it and spoke out or took offense to it and didn't say anything. Yeah, that was definitely a thing. And I would hope that, you know, he would have grown from when he was Killer Cam to now Cameron, the
mhm.
businessman, the media personality, because he has a lot more to lose now and
Sure,
he's lived life.
sure.
And when it comes to these two women that they have on the show, they probably see them as little sisters.
Mhm,
Um, and it also goes to show that a lot of times with men, when we talk about things that happen to women and people have to say, mostly other women have to say, imagine what if that was your daughter? What if that
mhm,
was your sister? What if that
mhm,
was your mother? You
mhm,
have to, a lot of times things don't really click with some men
mhm.
until it's something that's directly
Personal.
relatable to them,
Yeah,
directly impacts them. And
right.
then be like, oh, snap, you treating my person that way. That's not cool.
Mhm,
And so on that end, I think it was probably a combination of that. And as far as these young ladies, all women, and I'm going to go out on the limb and say all women, because there has not been an instance where a woman hasn't felt that uncomfort, whether it
right.
was the way someone looked at them, someone said
Lurk
something to
lurk
them,
too long, talk too
or touched
long.
them, or brushed up
Yeah,
against them,
uh-huh,
those types of things.
sure.
And women have, it's one of those things where it's pure survival. You do kind of giggle at it, or you do try. You don't want
Engage.
to, not even engage. You don't want to upset
Uh,
the man because
no.
in most instances, once that rejection comes in, or once that, I'm not really interested comes in, a switch flips almost instantly. And then you're in some sort of danger, whether it be verbal, well, you
Mm,
weren't that fine anyway,
or just
or
insulted,
what,
just
yeah,
getting.
or insulted or grabbed,
Mhm,
or, in some instances we've seen women have been physically harmed or even, unalived because they turned down someone advances. And I hope people don't see this young lady as, doing the hair flip or doing the little giggle
like
as
she's
welcoming
right,
it or
like consent,
encouraging that.
yeah.
It's a defense mechanism to
Mhm,
say, I want to I want to get home safe. I
yeah,
want to leave the situation. as unharmed as possible.
Mhm.
And like I
Or
said,
just flat out uncomfortable,
right,
and people react differently to uncomfortable situations.
right.
Some
Yeah.
people laugh it off, some people try to change the subject,
Mhm.
some people just smile and nod and hope that this will pass.
All these defense mechanisms.
Uh.
And it's one of those things where I don't know a single woman or girl, let's be honest, not just adult women, but teenage girls or even tween girls who haven't had this experience themselves or know someone who hasn't. I don't
Right.
personally.
Yep.
And so it's just one of those things where, um, you know,
Men supposed to step up, and luckily, they did
he did. They did in this.
on
Yep.
their behalf.
Yep.
So that's all. I just wanted to highlight that, and it looks like, there's been some growth, because I ain't
Yeah.
gonna pretend like Cam has always been,
Has
you
done
know
a complete 180,
Yeah,
but
right,
he's made
right.
some progress.
Yeah, we remember what they used to rap about, so,
Yes.
the fact that there seems like to be some growth, so I just wanna
Yeah.
give them some props for that. Alright, so that is it for the culture. We're gonna move into the hookup, and like I mentioned, one of my favorite iOS 26 apps is call screening, and basically what it is exactly how I mentioned. If somebody calls you, your phone will pick up and screen the person by asking them, state your business, what's your purpose, whatever the actual lingo is. The caller will verbally say, this is so and so, I'm calling about so and so. While it's doing that, the recipient, me, can actually read that voicemail or read that message as it's being translated. And then I have the option to either pick it up or let it go to voicemail or send a quick message as in, can't talk now, call you back later, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
In order to turn that on, you have to go to the iPhone settings, and then you go to apps, and then you go to phone, and then you go to screen unknown callers, and then you go down to the section for ask reason for calling. That's the feature that will have your iPhone pick up calls for numbers you don't know, then ask the caller their reason for calling. As they answer, a transcript of what they're saying will appear on screen, and you'll be able to pick up the phone if it seems important. So I think that's going to go a long way for people who, like me, who hate even call. I don't even like talking on the phone in the first
Yeah.
place, let
Exactly.
alone talking to somebody that I don't want to talk to. So
Right.
this feature, I'm definitely looking forward to use more and more and more so I can better screen my calls. So that is the hookup for the week. Definitely check out iOS 26 call screening. Of course, you got to update to iOS 26 to get this feature. So if you do, try it. Let me know how it works.
And I have to say, I'm kinda a little disappointed that this isn't for all calls. It's for just unknown
Right.
callers.
Unknown callers, people you don't have in your contacts, or the calls that in the past Apple called spam
Spam,
likely.
right. Yeah.
Those are the ones that's going to get screened. Now you can't turn that off if you're like a person that don't like to afraid to miss a call just because you don't recognize it. You can go in and it gives you a couple options, but I
Mhm.
chose to screen all the unknown callers. Let me
Right.
decide whether or not I want to answer it.
Right.
All right, so that's going to do it for the hookup, and that means that's going to do it for this week's show. Nika, tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Tech Savvy Diva pretty much anywhere in the digital landscape.
All right, and you can find me all at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH. To connect with the show, to find out when the next episode's dropping, to connect with us on social media, and to join our Patreon, please go to snoboscast.com and get all the details there. But until next week, we are out. Peace.
Bye, everybody.